We're still in the general preparation phase and we're just working mostly on our aerobic system so we can do more specific work later. Today we're working on lactic threshold running. That's what a tempo run is designed to be, okay? We're gonna do a normal warm-up run and drills. And for those of you guys that have been with us, basically this is the boys and Nia, you guys are gonna go 25 to 30 minutes, which is for that top group gonna be about 4 miles, okay? And then girls who just joined us, you're going to go 20 to 25 minutes. Anywhere in that window is fine. We produced this a little bit before. Remember, everything is based on 2 mile pace. It's 100%. We were doing fly 30s yesterday all the way out here. Our recovery run is down here. Lactic threshold is right here, okay? The lactic threshold is the threshold at which lactic acid is being produced and cleared in unison. So there is going to be a contribution from the anaerobic system here by the very nature that we are developing some acid, but it doesn't continue to accumulate like it does in a VO2 max workout or a higher intensity workout, okay? The idea being is if you run right at this, you could run it for, actually this says 40 minutes, but really you could run it for a race for up to an hour if you wanted to. The limiting factor today is not the accumulation of acid like it is on a 2-mile test day, okay? Literally, the issue today is fuel source, carbohydrates, as well as it's as much a mental drain today as it is anything. Because we're going to be going fast enough to where you're going to think you're going to burn out after a mile or two, but you really never do if you have good breathing and everything, okay? So it's really at about 85% VO2 max. The window I give is 84 to 86, so it's right in here. This would be all the way up to almost 10K pace. So you can see that right here at 10K pace, it's 90% aerobic to 10% anaerobic. So it's probably about 8% anaerobic today. So not enough to actually develop any acid. Does that make sense to everybody where this is in the energy continuum?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Oh.
So this is what lactic acid looks like, okay? So this is what we're producing and clearing in unison today. Actually what happens is your body makes this and it sits in your body for like a quarter of a second. This part off to the right here, so everything besides this becomes lactate. Your body moves it into the liver, it becomes more glucose. This is the acid that is actually the issue. It breaks off and this is what causes your body's pH to drop, okay? So this is what causes all the issues at like the end of an 800 or at the very end when you feel like your jelly-like feeling. Today we're going to be producing and clearing this in unison because your aerobic system uses this for its own fuel source. We usually talk about measuring lactate because this is so much bigger and easier to measure when we're testing blood. But this, they both come in a 1-to-1 ratio because they split off from each other. Okay, that's just what it looks like.
Wait, was that one the H plus?
Go back.
No.
Yeah, this is the H plus ion. This is what causes all the issue with muscle fatigue.
Hydrogen.
Yep.
Hydrogen.
Okay, click one to the right. Zoom in just a little bit, just to kind of give you some comparison of what today's workout is. It's touchscreen.
Oh, we're bougie. Oh.
All right. So we talked about how the fact that all these systems are working all the time. The aerobic system, the anaerobic system, all that. So just sitting here at rest, you know, moving your legs, blinking your eyes, messing with your hair, whatever it is you're doing, you are producing some acid. You're producing some acid. So millimoles of this acid per liter of your body, 0.8 to about 1.8. Okay? If you run a 400 as fast as you can and you feel like death afterwards, it's at 24. That's super high lactic acid, okay? If you're running, say, that 2-mile test, when you're in shape and everything, because actually you guys wouldn't have produced quite this much yet because you can't produce as much acid, so we haven't done that, but at peak fitness, you'd be about 12 millimoles after a 2-mile. So that's why this hurts so much more than this at the end, okay? Today, we're gonna be sitting at about 2 to 2.5. That's that point where your body can both produce and clear it in unison, okay? That's why this is something that's not going to be fatigued by acid, whereas on this day, the reason you end up having to stop on the 2-mile test is this right here, okay? Same thing with the 5K. It's really that 9 millimoles of lactate that causes the issue, okay? And if you scroll down to right here, if you remember from the energy continuum, the 10K was almost at like 90, 92%. So eventually this will slow you down, but you can almost clear this amount of acid slowly. It's kind of slowly accumulating at a 10K pace. It's why a college runner does so much more tempo running than we do. We only do it about once a week because of the specificity of the workout. We only do it once in a while to work on running economy. Since we're working more here, we do a lot more higher intensity things and lower intensity things, but only about 1 tempo run a week because it's not as specific to our workouts. That's why we don't do as much of it. college 10K runner does this about twice a week. If that makes sense. Okay? Click one more over to the actually. When you're zoomed in, you can't click. Now you can click. There we go. Okay. Last thing for this. You're going to be using a ton of glycogen today. That is your stored glucose. Okay? The prime window for replacing this. So we go out, we do this run, and we're at 0 minutes after the workout. Your body's stored glucose is probably going to be under 20% of its max. Okay? It's not going to do anything, and then after about 2 hours, there's a prime window where you guys really need to make sure that you're eating. Okay? And it has to be a high glycogen type diet. The idea being is actually if you're eating it right here, your body's digested it by here, and then it can restore its glucose. Then you're going to be slowly restoring it as you sleep, and hopefully we come back tomorrow and we're at 80%. Then we go and we do a lower intensity run like tomorrow is. It's not going to drop nearly as much because we're going at a lower intensity. That way we can come back on Saturday and do something that much faster. That's the idea of cycling between these paces. As opposed to if we were to hit this pace day after day after day, we would only get back up to 80%, and then this might drop all the way down to like 10%, and then 5%, and then all of a sudden we can't even finish the workout. So that's the idea of mixing all this up. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Lots of stuff going on here. The biggest thing that we're working on today, Manny, what do we work on during lactic threshold running?
The glycogen system.
No.
It's blood.
It's blood stuff, yes. The idea being is we want to be able to clear and produce that acid within unison, and your body gets better at it by doing it on a somewhat regular basis. I thought you were the one that used to say blood stuff. Was it you? I thought it was you that said blood stuff.
It's love stuff. That's all I
Okay, it is not love stuff. Be an immediate 2-mile cool down afterwards, okay? So let's say Alex is running, she gets to 20 minutes and she stops. She can, for 30 seconds, like form up with some other people and then keep going. The reason for that is we want to get that whole thing of the continuous work, that hormone that gets released from our heart when we've been working for at least 20 consecutive minutes. We want to extend that out to about 40 to 45 minutes a day, okay? So if you do stop to find somebody, just make sure it's very, very short, 30 seconds, okay? That way we get both overall aerobic development as well as this 20 to 30 minutes of lactic threshold running. We're going to do the relaxation afterwards.
All right, so let's take a look at the workout results from this tempo workout we did. So basically, and if you missed the video in which I show you guys how to calculate VO2 max from a VO2 max test, it's in the description down below. I would recommend taking a look at that so you can kind of see where these numbers came from. But basically, I'm going to take you through a couple of kids, their workouts, and show where they are and if they were successful in their actual workout from their results from their GPS watches. So starting here with Jania. Jania was supposed to be running, well, they're all supposed to be running 84 to 86%. Basically, a tempo workout or a hard lactic threshold workout, for the most part, is typically run right at 85%, especially if you have kids that have been running for for longer than about a year. There are other tempo type workouts, but this is sort of that area we were talking about. That is the in unison, where you're both producing and clearing that lactic acid, or really the acid, in unison with how it's being cleared from your aerobic system. So for Jania, and that's also a heart rate about 150 to 170. Jania was supposed to be 737 to 726 on this day, so let's take a look how she did. So she was supposed to be going in that 20 to 25 minute range, so she ended up going 3.32 miles, and that was 7:33, so she was absolutely perfect on the average for this day. Some of these kids gave me their full workout. Some of them I have their splits, but really in this day what's more important is the average, because we're not dealing with something like VO2 max, which you've heard me really sort of harp on, 98 to 101% for every rep, not just the average. For this one, you're dealing with a little bit more of a fluctuation. Lactic threshold is going to be a little bit different for each person, also depending on how they've done that day. So we're really looking a little bit more for an average for these kids. So the next one we're going to look at is Alex Olson. Alex Olson is right up here, a 4-year runner for us. He's supposed to be 7:18 to 7:08. We also had Amir running with him this day, and Ethan. As you can see, they're very, very close together, so they can really do that. So 7:18 to 7:08 is where they were targeting. And Alex on this day went out. The first mile was a little bit too fast, which can sometimes happen, especially we had some relatively nice weather, especially for Florida at this point. So it was really a good day to run. So I was kind of expecting that. We haven't done a ton of tempo running, so they had to kind of find their their rhythm here with this. So then 7:15, 7:14, 7:08 came out to an average of 7:11, which was absolutely perfect for all of them. I don't like to group kids just for the social aspect, but when it works and it makes sense, it's better, especially when I have a kid who's such a great senior type kid like Alex. For the other two kids in his group, Amir and Ethan, are both in their first year running. They did cross country. They've never done track before. So this is an example where it can really help to group run, even though I think Ethan was supposed to be about a second slower than the other ones, but basically it's the same time. So next up, we're going to look at one of the girls who were working with us, Alex Fry. Alex is right here. Alex was to be 7:41 to 7:31. Alex was going to go, oh, and those boys were going 25 to 30 minutes. That's why you saw the extra mile on there. Alex was going to go 20 minutes on this day. She was going to be grouped with Ethan Stennett, with Kevin, and I believe Danny and Jania were kind of running with them too. It's kind of a little bit of a bigger group, but Alex was kind of the bottom end of that group, so I will show you guys where she is, 7:41 to 7:31. Let's see how she ended up doing. Here are her mile splits, 7:24, a little bit too fast, 7:42, maybe a little bit too slow, and then she finally settled into that just right pace of 7:34, and the average was right where it was supposed to be, 7:33. So Alex and some of the other girls, as I mentioned in a previous video, were at our school doing, we're not doing one gender versus the other gender in terms of coaching staff. We're trying to have coaches coach events. So she came over and started working with us just very recently. So she's starting to kind of get the feel for it, and by the end of it, she got it. So a very successful workout for her. This was her total for 2031, 2.71 in terms of the distance, 7:33 average. So another successful workout there. This is going to be Brady. So if we look at Brady's prescribed pace for the day, kind of that second group, or group right behind where Alex was, 7:47 to 7:36. Brady went out, again, 25 to 30 minutes. He decided to go just over 25, 3 1/4, 7:42. We're perfect right on where we should. Actually, I think he was a little bit fast if we think back to this. So no, he was right where he should be. So right where he should have been on this workout. So far we are perfect on the workout splits. Dana is another one of these kids who just came over and started working with us. So she is right here, 9:12 to 8:59. Dana came through in 9:09, 8:53 again. So we're sort of trying to figure out where the pace was again. So 9:12 to 8:59, just trying to settle in. Went a little bit too aggressively on the second mile and then dropped it back down into the fast end of her correct zone with a 9:01 average. So in the end, it ended up being a good workout for her. Here is her total, 20 minutes to an almost a quarter, 9:01 pace. So again, it's at the fast end of her zone, but she's also going at the slower end of what you would do a tempo run. So that's to be expected. So I ran with this group up here, David and Manny. David and Manny. Manny's been running for about a year. David just joined us about maybe 3 weeks ago. So they're still newer runners, so I'm trying to help sort of pace them. Neither of them actually have GPS watches, so as I'm going through working with this group, that is has a lot of potential, but again is very, very raw in terms of their running experience. So 7:06 to 6:56 for David, 7:09 to 6:59 for Manny. Let's see how we ended up doing. This was a total run, as you heard me saying that. I didn't stop it in between the easy part and the hard part, I say the hard part and the easy part because we had a 2-mile cooldown on the back end, so we had a 45-minute continuous run along with about 25 to 30 minutes of lactic threshold running. But let's see the actual core part of the workout we're looking for. It's the first 4 of these miles because we ended up going 4 miles total. 6:54, so we were a little bit fast. Again, as I said, it was really nice weather for that day. Then we dropped back down into the fast end of their zones and settled in here kind of into the middle to middle fast part of their range. When I went through and calculated it, because the way that you would do this, if you don't split it all up, you would add 54 plus 59 plus 58 plus 60 and divide, and it ended up that we were at 6:59 average, which was on the fastest end for Manny, and it was on the relatively fast end for David as well. So another very successful workout, and then we did these cool down miles on the back end to get that continuous work in. Last one I'm going to show you here is Jackson. Jackson is a 4-year runner. Jackson had to do this actually on his own, just because of work schedules and things like that. But since he's such a more seasoned runner, I definitely trust him to do this, especially when he always sends me his splits. He's supposed to be 6:23 to 6:14. Let's see how he did. 6:18, 6:22, 6:17, 6:11. He's one that definitely does like to go a little bit faster on that last mile. And if I recall on this day, the wind was kind of at our back, kind of toward the end. So not really out of the realm of how he normally does things. He's not one that likes to get out fast. He's the one that'll run, 30 seconds slower on his first mile on a 5K and then really bring it way, way down. So we look at his average, just over 25 minutes, just over 4 miles, which is really where I wanted them to all get, about 4 miles for those boys who have been with us, 6:16 average. So, as I was saying, he's right there at that fast end of the zone. So a very, very successful workout. What you really don't want to see, kind of the danger points that you'll see in these workouts is if you were to go out and run, and we did run a little bit too fast on this one, but if this were to drop out of our zone. So we're back here, let's look at Jackson again. If he were to go 6:18, which was kind of the fast end of the zone, and then he went 6:22, if he had then gone 6:25 and 6:35 and dropped completely out of his zone for the last mile, that's not what you're looking for on this. You want this to be a very consistent workout. You don't have to kick in. This is an aerobic run. Again, you can hold this theoretically for your race for up to an hour if you need to. The limiting factor is going to be stored glucose, so provided you haven't done anything crazy with not eating or not fueling up or doing too much of this together, you should be able to hold this for a very long period of time. So this is what you want. You kind of want that consistency on this, or at the very least, not slowing down out of the zone at the end. So that is the kind of the perfect tempo workout. We were basically perfect with all the groups that did this on this day. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments down in the description down below. If you like this video, please think about liking or subscribing. And until next time, this has been Coachy TV.